This is Memuna.
Yes, good morning, Dr. Williams. It's Karen Loots from Radio Fynbos. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
No, very well. And thank you for joining us for the interview this morning.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All right. So, Dr. Williams, just for the sake of our listeners and, to bring them into the conversation, I'll shed a little light as to what our interview will be about. So, is that okay with you?
That's perfect.
Okay, so you have just returned from the World Economic Forum in Davos, and you are deeply involved in conversations around education, skills development, and economic inclusion. So maybe give us a little bit of a background, Dr. Williams, about why you are so passionate about this topic and field.
Yeah, thanks so much. Yes, I've just come back from Davos, where they had the first ever education house. And so this is becoming more and more the focus for everyone globally. But for me, it's very personal. I've been living here in South Africa for over 10 years with my family. My children came up here. We consider South Africa as one of our homes, but we are Sierra Leoneans, so from West Africa. And it's there that my connection to and story with education started with my parents. My dad only started school, when he was 12 years old, kind of observing that he could get a meal or an extra meal if he was wearing a uniform like some of these other boys that were in his village. And he went on from there to get scholarships all the way through to his PhD. And on his side, was able to give us a good life. And similarly, my grandfather on my mother's side observed as he was supporting Syrian business leaders in Freetown that this writing thing seemed to be a good thing. And so he resolved to get his children in a position to be able to read and write. So everybody went to school in his house, including my mother. And being lucky enough to be down the road from a very good school in Freetown. And on her side, too, she's been able to give us a good life. And so me and my siblings, we're a big family. There's 7 of us, and we've all gone on to be professionals in one way or another. And then I see the effect then on our children, of which there are, last count, my father passed on. My mother had 16 grandchildren, and they're having decent lives. So I see the value of education to improve the lives of the next generation and the next generation beyond that. And if we expand my family's experience across communities, you can see what the impact will be.
Oh, absolutely. And I have so many things that I want to say and I want to add, but let's just keep to the questions for now. So that is so true, Dr. Williams. And I mean, it's speaking from a place where you can see the difference in your own life and, like you said, your family. So, but as the 2025 matric results came out, many headlines were celebrating the improved pass rates, which is amazing. But from your honest perspective, should South Africa be celebrating, or are we facing a deeper crisis that needs urgent attention?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both, right?
Yeah,
I think you're right to say that it's amazing.
yeah.
As South Africa is fortunate enough to have a reasonably good education system if you judge it by what happens in the region.
Yeah.
And I'm fortunate enough to keep an eye on the region because I'm West African, and so I've lived in Nigeria and Kenya. We can talk about that another day.
Yeah.
So I have an interest and I've seen what happens other places. So I think that comparatively, we have a good education system here in South Africa. And what I see I think it's a 7% increase in pass rates this year over last year, maybe it was 0.7. I think it was a small number. But that's 0.7%, times a population number. That's real people, who have given themselves a chance to have a for a building blocks that is recognized on which they can build and go forward with their lives. So that's not to be sneezed at.
Yeah.
And even for that remaining 12% that didn't pass this year, they're not defined by not having passed, or if you want to call it failure.
Yeah.
Rather, what they're defined by is what do they do about it next? What do they learn from it? I talked about my family. My brother had to repeat, at this point in time, and he's working as a lawyer, fast forward many years, for a major crown corporation, and nobody remembers that he had to repeat, essentially his matric, right?
Yes.
So, yeah.
And I think that on that point specifically, I mean, if we just, it's like Einstein said about the fish and the tree and all that. Some people are just more practical and needs to be equipped in that way, and other people are academics and they need to go to university. They want to go to a university. They want to study, and they want to do something that needs a PhD. So I think the approach should be different. We should be looking in schools at a much earlier stage at, how to equip those ones that really don't want to do the academic route, and how to equip them to be able to actually leave school with something behind them that can actually support them in a career. So, yeah, but marks are not only the only thing that defines us. So you're dead right. So, Dr. Williams, out of the roughly 900,000 matriculants, am I right? Is that number correct?
Yes.
So,
yes.
but only a fraction of them will go to university for formal employment, afterwards. So what happens to the tens of, possibly hundreds of thousands of school leavers, and what are the steps for them next?
Yeah. You're right. Again, that we are fortunate enough to be in a time where we can make the observation, and we're living the reality that traditional university is not the only option.
Yeah.
Now, it's a tried and true option, so it's also is not to be sneezed at, because it can give somebody a clear path towards where they want to do, if that's the route for them. But in what you said, what comes up for me is that there are non-university options like technical and vocational training and education that young people can go into, depending on what their interests are. And so much of this is dependent on what the interests of the young people are. So the traditional university route, public university, if you didn't get into that, can you go into a private university route that maybe can give you some options because they have payment plans, or a community college also can kind of lean towards that TVET side, or an actual TVET. And then also, depending on what you're trying to do, can you maybe take a short course in an area of your interest, or an area that isn't currently in a demand? So much about technology and everything where we are today. So those would be some of the ways forward.
Yeah. So obviously what we're talking about is in theory, it's all good, but the practical side of it, so if you had the full attention of government and the private sector right now, what urgent but realistic interventions would you push for to stop the class of 2025 from beginning or becoming the next unemployment statistic?
Yeah. So thanks so much for that question, because so much of what we've talked about up to now is what happens at the individual level, what they should do. But they need to be met halfway. They need to be met halfway by civil society. They need to be met halfway by government. They need to be met halfway by business. And so, part of the issues that these young people are facing as they're trying to go along is a lot of structural issues. Not enough places at universities. Many of these matriculants that we're talking about will have applied to university but not gotten a place, just because there are simply not enough places for the number of applications that are being received. Hundreds of thousands of applications for just a few thousand places, university after university. So how can the universities play their part, in the longer run, with existing ones, kind of making more spaces available, maybe immediately leveraging technology because we know how to do that post-COVID, and working with government to make sure that more physical places are being made available so that we can narrow the gap on that particular structural problem. And then on the business side, so often we hear about a skills mismatch. And so what can the businesses do to accommodate, the reality of, the training that is currently coming out of all of these different types of educational institutions, and bring the young people in, train them, through internships, learnerships, apprenticeships, and give opportunities to the best of them, going forward. Because obviously, on a business imperative, you can't just be fully charitable, but at least, kind of open it up a little bit more.
Yeah.
So those would be some of the things that I would say: meet the young people part way, you're needed.
Yeah. So the heart of the interview, that's why I agreed to the interview, is basically, I always think from the community side. I'm a person walking around in my town. We see, we hear all these things. But what do I do even if I'm not a business owner? What a role can we as a community play in this problem?
Yeah. Yeah, I take it back to my family. I grew up watching both my parents, almost adopting other young people in the community, saying, this cousin or this person who's a child of a particular friend, I see that, I'm interested in them for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take it upon myself to pay their school fees. So our house was always full of extra sisters and brothers, if you will. And, at the end of my dad's life, he passed away, you could see the gratitude in the community. And I think that, that connection to community is so important, because it's the people there in the community who know you, who care about the community. So if people are doing well in the community, then the community stands a chance to do better, because it's, we don't want just one or two exceptional people for the community. We want the opportunity and the success broadly. But we see many examples of people who do really well are the ones who come back and build that additional school, who build that additional hospital, right? Who build that thing that's needed in the community. So if we can support our young people to go on to do well, the community will benefit in the future.
Yeah, it's kind of a pay it forward system where we just don't, you take care of someone, what you've received, you give away freely, something like that. Yeah. So, Dr. Williams, maybe just in closing our interview, obviously I want to find out just quickly, just maybe a brief summary of what was a chunk or something you took away from Davos, that you can maybe give us, and just a small bit of feedback about that.
Yeah. Start on the idea of entrepreneurship. I can talk about it, and that's an important part of how I solved the Asian to place crisis in Africa, where we have so many young people.
Dr. Williams, Dr. Williams, the line is breaking up a little bit. Can we maybe just check our reception?
Okay, can you hear me better now?
Yes, I can hear you now, yeah.
Okay, so sorry about that.
No, not a...
So entrepreneurship, one of the things that I noticed was that there was a lot of networking and deal making with a lot of family offices, which are amongst the types of organizations that fund larger entrepreneurs, but you have to be a small entrepreneur to become a big entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So if entrepreneurship, we've talked about all of these other options, is one of the things that you want to do. Know that it is an option, and it's a lifestyle, it's a commitment, and we would want you to go forward with it. And there are people out there who are looking to fund your ideas, and that's one thing that I noticed in Davos. Climate action. Al Gore himself made an appeal for young people to be recruited into the cause. I know from experience that a lot of young South Africans in communities really care about climate-related items because they see the effects of it firsthand. And so that is an area that they should work on. And of course, AI and technology was unavoidable as a message and an important thing, including in education, from somebody like Wendy Kopp, who is the founder of Teach for All. So those would be three things that I would focus in on.
All right. So then, yeah, thank you so much for talking to us, Dr. Williams. And despite of all these challenges, we are hopeful with you. I think it's maybe time for us as small business owners and community members to start think different about this and not wait for the government or other people to sort it out, but try and sort these things out and create opportunities in our communities for our people from our communities. So, yeah, I appreciate your conversation.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.